For our next guest, I would like you to welcome, with a big round of applause, Martina Marchio.
Hello everybody, my name is Martina. Thank you, Giro, for the introduction. I'm a game developer, and this year I'm also responsible for Devolution, which is a panel we pretty much have every year with a maze, in which we take a game, or even games, that we love, and we analyze the development process of them. This year, I'm super proud to say that we analyzed the development of Lonely Mountain Downhill, and today, with us, we have the developers, Danny and Jan. Woo! Hello guys, welcome. Sit
Hello.
down, make yourself comfortable. Danny and Jan are gonna give us a beautiful presentation right now.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are here to talk a bit about the history of the development of Lonely Mountains Downhill. Lonely Mountains is a downhill mountain biking game. It was developed by Megagon Industries, published by Thunderful, and was initially released on PC, Xbox, PlayStation 4 in October 2019, and half a year later on Switch. Who's Megagon? We are a small indie studio from Berlin, currently 6 people. Yeah, the company was founded by us two, Daniel and me, in 2014. Can't really read the presentation. Back then we were mostly working as freelancers, so we did all the Megagon stuff basically on the side in our free time. And during that time, we released 2 premium mobile games. That is, and Then It Rained and Twisted Lines. In 2015, we played a little mobile game which was called Skiing Yeti Mountain. And this game has really tight controls, like super simple but very, really tight and a lot of fun. And we were bouncing a lot of ideas for new games, and one of them was a racing game. Combined with low poly graphics and stuff like that. So one evening I just started doodling around, and this character came up. I did basic rigging, a few animations, and here we have the first GIF of Lonely Mountains. We didn't really know where this will lead us. Next evening, basically, I just started hooking up some animations, writing a simple character controller, and we had the first playable prototype, basically. It was still a mobile game back then, and yeah, with a completely flat terrain. So we started exploring more, adding 3D terrain and very important crashing. We didn't really know how important that would be. So here you can see the terrain, and the crashing didn't really work out as intended in the beginning. But after a while we fixed it and added some obstacles and a timer. And yeah, already then we had some really fun moments when we did some competitions on our mobile phone, and racing for the best time was very, very simple, but still it already was kind of promising. So the first year of development, we were focusing a lot on the physics, on the controls. Turns out the Unity physics, especially wheel colliders, are not really good for 2 wheels. So in the end, everything was custom physics. We polished the controls a lot because this was the core of the game, just riding your bike. And we had a lot of weird in-between states, as you can see. Yeah, but after a while, we ended up with this. This is basically, it was fun to just ride around the small test track, sliding around the corners. Controls kind of worked, and we felt that maybe we should show someone. So we made a little GIF and showed it on, I think, a Facebook developer group or something. And I would have been happy if we got like, I don't know, 10 likes or something, maybe a nice comment, but it completely exploded, at least in our scale. And we got more than 1,000 likes and hundreds of comments, and we were really like, oh, wow, maybe we are onto something here. Maybe we should talk about what we'll do with it. So slowly vision emerged, basically. And core of the vision was we don't want to make a biking simulation, so it should be simple, arcadey, and fun. That was really important. And next thing was, so basically our mission statement was we don't have competition there, so direct competition. So we wanted to have a, well, I'll just show you. It's basically you against the mountain. Maybe I watched too much Game of Thrones back then, I don't know. The GIF is actually from that time. And we wanted to focus on the pure nature experience. So basically you being out there on your bike, on your own. We tried to keep the low poly style we started with, but we wanted to improve it a lot. Daniel was a big fan of Lara Croft Go and the art style, so we decided to go into that direction, adding a lot more details. Yeah, and another really big decision was we ditched mobile. Before that, we mainly made mobile games, so this was kind of an unknown territory for us, but it was a really good decision. Gamepad controls felt so much better than the touchscreen. We also had a lot more possibilities in terms of graphics, especially real-time shadows, post-processing and all that, which really adds a lot to the low poly style. And yeah, self-marketing channels are also way better on PC. With that, we also realized this is a lot more work and we can't really do that as a side project. So we needed to come up with a plan.
Yeah, so in the beginning of 2017, we actually decided to go full-time. So Jan and me were still freelancers at the time, and we quit our freelance jobs and took all our savings, but that wasn't enough. So we decided to apply to the Medium Board here in Berlin. That is actually, the GIF is part of the application video we sent them. And because we decided to go full-time, it was the first time we could actually work together on the game every day. So working on it for a full month every day really made everything come together. So we showed our first public prototype at Covades here in Berlin. And as you can see, like a lot of the things we did over the last 1.5 years at that point suddenly paid off. We also figured out how the level design should work for the first time, that you have these like multiple trails down a mountain, and finding your own path is really part of the core experience. And that worked pretty well, because even like with this very first prototype, people started to make speedruns for the game, even on the event. So people came back 5, 6, 10 times, trying to beat their best time, bringing their friends, trying to beat their times. And that was really, really nice to see. So after that, we took the game to a lot of events. And the feedback was really great. And that convinced us to self-publish the game, which was the crazy idea at the time. And in order to do that, you still had to go to Greenlight on Steam. So we made our first Greenlight trailer, which hopefully works. Let it work? Yeah, it works. Yeah, luckily, Greenlight was a success. We had like a 95% approval rating, and that was really nice to see that not only like people on developer conferences liked the game, but actually the players liked it. And this kind of led us to doing a Kickstarter campaign, because we also needed the money to bring up the other 50% for the median board. The Kickstarter was pretty hard for us because it started really, really good. Like we made 40% or something on like the first 2 days, or 30%, which is this magic number everyone tells you need to have a successful campaign. But then we went to this like valley of death where nothing happened anymore. So we had to come up with something. Our decision was to make a 1-minute demo. Why only 1 minute? We made the big mistake to promise a demo for the Kickstarter backers. So we couldn't give the demos to just players or just let them try it. So we made this 1-minute demo as a kind of compromise. And actually that was the best decision, because suddenly the whole speedrunning community took the demo, and because we were actually convinced that you cannot beat it in 1 minute, of course they did, but that really helped. That really showed the competition, and people came into the Discord and talked about best strategies and things like that. So I think, yeah, the 1-minute demo was a big part why the Kickstarter was successful in the end. And yeah, then we got money from the median board, we got money from the Kickstarter, so for the first time we could really focus on the production of the game. And yeah, I give back to Jan.
Yeah, with that we kind of started the full production. I mean, it was still us two working on it. And the first thing we did, we ripped out one of the core elements of the game, which was the terrain and level system, basically. Back then we had each, you can see these little chunks of terrain, and I mean, actually they were not that little, and each chunk was in its own Unity scene, and editing the whole thing was a nightmare. It took forever just changing scenes, and you always have to keep track in which scene you're currently working. And so we completely removed that. We added a new system where our own, basically, terrain tools and level tools. And that meant that everything ended up in one Unity scene, which was, in the beginning, sounded like a really, really smart idea. However, yeah, that's what we ended up with the first mountain. You can see the irregular outline, basically. You can add small chunks of terrain wherever you want. So there's also the tendency that the levels grow and grow and grow, which was awesome in the beginning. Yeah. After that, no, not after that, but we also added a lot of things like these flower fields, for example. And yeah, this is a feature we completely removed at some point. So basically, when you found the flowers, they magically opened, and was, yeah, a really magic moment, but somehow it didn't really feel right to the whole game. So we replaced it kind of with the resting spots we have now in the game you can still find. Other features were modified, like we had in the beginning, we had different bike parts. So, for example, different frames, different wheels, brakes, and so on. And changing one bike part basically didn't have the big impact, so it didn't feel like valuable because the changes were so small. So in the end, we completely removed that part and decided to go with 6 predefined bikes with all different characteristics, so you can unlock over the course of the game. This was the next mountain we created, and here the size of the mountain basically became kind of a problem. We decided to take this mountain to Gamescom as the demo we showed there. And I don't know, a week before Gamescom or something, everything came together, and we were really happy with the mountain. And we played it in a build and realized, okay, the performance is just terrible. It's not working at all. So we hacked in a really ugly solution for optimizations here, which was replaced later on. But yeah, the initially promised small mountain with the tiny streams became this waterfall madness, now also known as Redmo Peaks. Yeah, Gamescom. We made it to Gamescom. It was really nice. Got lots of feedback. It was always nice to see people play the game. We had a lot of inspiration. We always came home really motivated from Gamescom, or like basically every event. But at that point, we more or less already missed our deadline for release. We promised during Kickstarter. And so we knew, okay, we need more time, we need to change something, we need more help working on the game. But we couldn't really afford it, so we partnered up with Thunderful. We signed at Gamescom, and yeah, they also promised, besides funding, to make the console builds, which was also really exciting. We couldn't do it ourselves, we didn't have any experience in that, so yeah, really excited about that. And the next big step was probably the most scariest step for us. But in hindsight, also the best step, we hired our first employee. We hired Noah as artist, and he basically made the mountains they are right now, beautiful as they are. This was really a big step for us, but pretty amazing. And yeah, that concludes 2018, I think.
So yeah, in 2019 we had a partner, we had some money again, we had a porting studio who helped us with the console versions. So we continued developing. We put in customization system and progression system in the game. And we spent a lot of time on like these beautiful 3D menus. Even some features probably no one has ever noticed. Like you have these camps in the background, which show your progression on a mountain. Which isn't communicated at all, so I don't think anyone ever noticed that. But we spent a lot of time on it, actually. And we created these like big menu maps. So the idea was always that you as a player have the feeling that the world is larger than you can see. So that you're only like this tiny rider in this huge world. And of course, even our mountains are big. We cannot build everything. So we try to make the impression through menus, through everything around it, that like there is this huge landscape and you're just one little guy on a bike riding through it. We also built more mountains. So we built a big canyon mountain and another one which is inspired by like the Canadian Rockies. And at some point we remembered that we actually promised a night mode during the Kickstarter as a stretch goal. So we also had to put that in at the last moment. Overall, 2019 was a really, really stressful year for us. So we tried to finish the game, content and feature-wise. There were still lots of bugs everywhere because it was a really big game at that point. And although we got a porting studio who like took care of a lot of the things when it comes to consoles, we still had to like add a lot of things to the core gameplay. There were a lot of performance issues, shaders that had to be rewritten, like all kinds of stuff. And as we never did that, it came kind of a surprise to us. And then there were submissions. Submissions on console take like insanely long, especially if you do it for the first time. So yeah, and because we wanted to release the game in 2019, we also started to go to events again. We had like this private press tour with Xbox, which was really cool, but it also meant that one of us had to be at some event like nearly every weekend. So yeah, overall 2019 was pretty stressful, but we managed. The game finally got released in October. We had a very, very short release party. And luckily, the reception was really great. Like we got over 90% on Steam. Never left that. Press was really nice to us. We got some award nominations and stuff like that. So overall, it was a really good release for us. And for a very, very short time, we even were like the most watched game on Twitch for like a minute or so. That was really cool. But yeah, then it didn't end there.
Yeah, I mean, after, I don't know, 4.5 years or something of development at that point, we kind of could have used doing something else, but we didn't really do that. The first thing we did was, hey, let's do a Christmas event. So briefly before Christmas, we tried to patch in a new feature, which was also rather stressful, but it kind of worked out. But in the upcoming time, we released a lot of bug fixes, a lot of patches. We added a few modified a few features. For example, how you unlock bikes. We got a lot of feedback from the community, so we changed a few things here and there to make everything a bit smoother. And yeah, big thing in the next year was releasing Switch. Switch was really a problem because of performance. So again, we had a porting studio who helped us here, but working on the performance was mostly done on our side. So we spent quite a lot of time on that. And after that, we kind of spent a lot of time working on 2 new things. So one of that was daily rides, which we released for the first anniversary. Daily rides are basically every day all the players get one randomly selected trail with random obstacles. There are seasons and leaderboards where you can compete in, and you get new outfits based on the season. And those daily rides are still very popular. We have still lots of players playing it every day. And the other big thing was our first DLC called Elfjall, Elfjall Island. It's inspired by Iceland. As it's one of our favorite trailers, we just want to show that again here. Probably the biggest mountain we ever made. Yeah, and after that, the next year, we spent a lot of time, again, updating, patching, adding the new daily ride seasons, but also working on another DLC. The team grew last year, so we're now 6 people, and new team members also worked on this trail. It is called Riley's Return, was released last October. And it adds 1 trail to the Mount Riley. And on the other hand, we also released daily ride modifiers, which is adding a lot more variation to the daily rides, like modified checkpoints, classic mirror mode, and yeah, the superbike. And yeah, a lot more. So I think that's it with our core presentation. We are currently hiring, so if you're either a UI gameplay developer or backend developer or console developer, check our website in the next week, hopefully.
Maybe 2.
We have some descriptions up there. We're looking forward to hear from you. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I would like to, first of all, point out one little thing. So, as I mentioned, this year with Devolution, we analyzed Lonely Mountain and Downhill, and we built an exhibition inside the MA space, the amazing space you can see on those screens. You can visit the exhibition, watch the videos, play the versions if you have a premium account. And get insights about our work with this great game. So Devolution's motto is actually how to grow a game. We like to use this metaphor of gardening. Do you relate to it? How do you think your game grew on its own, besides the work you did to nurture it?
I think it resonates with us pretty well because, I mean, first of all, of our nature theme, but also because, as you can see, we never had this big master plan or anything. We just like started with this very small prototype and then it kind of like really organically grew from there, and we had another idea, we put it in, we had one more idea, we put it in, we like saw that, okay, some of these ideas are like more weeds than flowers, so we put them out again, and it really, like, yeah, we had absolutely no idea that we would have this 6-person company by now, or even have this game, that it even would be on console or PC, so yeah, everything grew organically for us.
Yeah, I see. That's great. Also, by playing the game, we know that the first, one of the first version that you produced was a mobile version. How much do you think that it was necessary to get to the current feeling of the game, where the controllers are very masterfully crafted to feel good? Do you think that having mobile controllers was part of the development of it?
Yeah, I think it was kind of important. I mean, the mouse controls basically, you can play it with controller, but also with mouth. That's still the same as touch controls. But I think the whole system, how the input works, how everything comes together, how it was polished and tweaked, is still a lot coming from the mobile prototype. Yeah.
I mean, also style-wise, like the character design and the world design, a lot of that was based on the limitations of mobile, like having a small screen. We needed something very readable, very clear. I don't know if it would have been the same design if you would have just started with a PC version, actually. So I think kind of these limitations came in our favor.
I see. You have a great community, actually. Let's talk about the community. Do you feel like you implemented their feedback in the game a lot?
I mean, we added a lot of new features, a lot of tiny tweaks. One of the things which comes to mind is actually the daily rides, because people play them so intensely that they basically ask for breaks. And recently we added, that's not really a big feature, but we added season breaks now, so people can basically rest for a few days until they start into the next season. Yeah, but also like the unlocking of the bikes, we always listen to the community and try to implement the feedback if it's possible. I mean, there are a lot of crazy ideas, obviously, which we can't implement, but...
Yeah. After the release, you actually kept working on the game a lot. You released 2 DLCs, and one is coming, right? One new DLC is coming.
Yeah, we have another free DLC coming up next Monday, I think. So yeah.
How is it called?
It's called Misty Peak, actually, and it's a new trail for the Kraterhorn Mountain.
Okay. Can you spoil us a little bit what we will find?
It's a little bit different. Like we try to interpret some parts of the mountain in another way, so it's like way more foggy, cloudy. It's yeah, I think nothing we currently have in the game. So I hope people like it.
Nice. I can't wait. Also, what do you want to put more work in the game after this release?
So it won't be finished after this DLC, so much I can promise, but also at some point, I mean, we're now working on the game like 7 years, so just for our personal mental health, it's good to do something else. So I don't think the whole team won't work full time on the game anymore. That's like not healthy for us.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about the atmosphere, because the game is a curious combination of challenge versus atmosphere. I feel like I could easily fall asleep just to the sound of the game. How did you find this balance between challenge and pleasure of playing?
I mean, that's one of the topics we discussed a lot during development, because we like that it's challenging, but we always wanted to have this like relaxing feeling of being in nature, riding your bike, So that's why we have like this exploration mode, which doesn't have any time features whatsoever, so you can just enjoy the mountain. These resting spots, which like a lot of people, when they saw the game for the first time, were like, hey, this is this hardcore racing game, which has these like resting spots where you can't do anything and you're just sitting there and enjoying nature. So yeah, I think for us it was always like we always said it's not for people who actually go mountain biking, it's for people who imagine how it is to be mountain biking in the mountains. And that's the feeling we try to have.
Yeah. Also, while we were playing the versions, we found out that the difference between the Kickstarter release and the final release is that in the final release, each mountain has more than one track. And how did you manage that with the checkpoint system?
Well, that was actually a big problem. I mean, I talked briefly about the chunk system or the train system we rewrote, and one of the core challenges here was actually the performance. I mean, level design was one part, but performance was really critical because the scenes became so big. So we came up with a custom solution for culling, so basically removing all the objects which are currently not visible, optimizing physics by removing a lot of colliders which are not really relevant right now, and yeah, adding LOD system, which also basically the main problem was we have so many objects in the game that it's really hard to check each and every single flower and everything. So we kind of grouped stuff together, made these culling groups basically, and then used UNT's culling system to take care of the checking if it's visible or not.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, everyone. This is Lonely Mountain Downhill. Don't forget to visit the space and take a look at the versions. Thank you so much. Right now, the developers will be available behind those curtains to answer the questions you might have. Thank you so much, and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.